topic of our podcast today. I started teaching back in 2011. Back in the days, I'm sure you remember, but I'm going to say for the audience, it used to be a Wild West in terms of computer science academies. And there was this person, this this computer science genius, this god of tutoring called Ivan Vankov Gataka.
Yes.
You was under the impression that I'm going to say Svetlana Nakov? No, I'm going to say Ivan Vankov. He was the first one who introduced tutorials, mainly in our native language. So the whole generation was trained in PHP because of Gataka and his effort. And I was extremely impressed by the idea, the very same idea, to share my knowledge. My knowledge was scared back in the days, but I've actually understand the idea that if I know something, it needs to be passed to someone who needs to understand not only the basics, but the philosophy behind a particular language, technology, ideas, etc. And back in the days, there was this academy, Telerik Academy, which made some extremely brave first steps toward introducing the idea of computer science and computer technology training to the masses. And this Telerik Academy actually joined forces with different trainers, experienced trainers and not so experienced trainers, in order to create a comprehensive program related to technologies. And I was one of those first trainers in this academy. And I've actually conducted the Saturday group every single Saturday for quite some times, few months. I've took the train from Plovdiv to Sofia, and I've dealt with some very eager and hungry for knowledge young people who wish to understand the basic of HTML, JavaScript, C#, etc. So this was my first hardcore experience into the world of teaching. I've never second guessed myself, but this was the moment of complete eruption of my general philosophy towards sharing idea and sharing concepts with other people. And this was actually a very natural transition towards the university. So at the university, I've actually found the real passion for teaching, because you have the environment, you have peers with your own interest, and you're trying actually to navigate the extremely complicated field of higher education, grumpy professors, and your own set of ideas, which are usually more modern than those that the academia recognize. And you are trying to actually try to drive the envelope further into negotiating with them the idea that you're going to introduce a modern training, and this modern training is going to be relevant to the whole university curriculum. And it's a lot of fun, because when you're dealing with the university, you're dealing with a system that needs to reform, and you're on the front, you're in the vanguard of this reformation. You're introducing new technology, you're introducing ideas, you're trying to influence the students to pick the latest and greatest. And by influencing them, you're actually making the user group of the future. We usually think in our field of professional endeavor as a group of people who are organized around specific technology or specific programming language. But I always thought about organizing around ideas and philosophy. So, long story short, I am still teaching. I am still working professionally with code, with customers, with mainly architectural type projects. And I'm trying to wrap all of those activity around a single idea to pass the torch to the next generation, actually. This is my main idea. Honestly, I can say that teaching brings me a little bit more fun. And I can actually rest a little bit when I'm working with my students rather than working with customers. Usually, this is the more frustrating part. I currently held a PhD in computer science, and I'm trying to actually influence the people to pursue more academic aspect of their education, not to be just a craftsman, not to just memorize the latest sets of technologies, but to understand, to think a little bit deeper over the main idea behind the computer science stuff: algorithms, data
Awesome.
structures, philosophy.
I actually like that a lot. You touched on a few things, and there's this big thing, where people say universities are very much behind what happens, and essentially we aren't learning anything. So maybe before that, can you share a bit more what computer science students learn about data nowadays, or overall, what do you teach your students?
Basically, if we make a dissection of the current curriculum that is taught in the university, you're not going to find any data science stuff outside of the very basic one. So, for example, usually during the second course of their education, when the majority of students already have the general idea what is a programming language, how the data is working in terms of zeros and ones, how to do some high-level calculus and math in general, they are usually presented with their basic data science course in terms of databases. Usually, this is the course in which you're understanding what is SQL, what is the database in general, and some very basic theory that is related to normalization and data storage. So, usually, this course is the foundation for everything. But the majority of students completely disregard this because it's boring and basic.
I
And
had
this
4. Our grading system is, from 2 to 6, and I had 4, essentially in the middle, lower level,
Yes,
if you wish.
absolutely. Because usually those courses are theoretical. The students do not understand the implication of databases because until you started working on large scale projects, those databases are just glorified Excel file. And you're not sure why you need to input data in this syntactical manner rather than opening your Excel sheet and put some numbers there. It's pretty abstract in the second course, and usually this is the baseline for all of the education related to data in general. And from this point on, we can separate data science, which is more related to math, statistic, and understanding of data, and the data engineering, which is a little bit more technical stuff. So back in the days, I've started working with databases, database engineering, and database development. Usually, this revolves around SQL crafting, managing warehouses, managing pipelines. This is something that we're not talking in the university at all because it used to be flagged as a niche technology. back in the days. Before big data arrive, and before all of those concepts related to data governance, data pipeline, ETL, etc., those were concepts that were foreign for the university. And the university always tried to direct you towards writing programming languages. And SQL is the basic minimum of understanding everything related to data. So I tried to flip the script because it's extremely hard to introduce in the regular curriculum any new subject because it requires a lot of bureaucratic effort and a lot of administrative effort. Usually, our university, for example, the Plovdiv University Faculty of Math and Informatics, gives you the opportunity to create disciplines which are outside of the required scope. Those disciplines are elective in nature. And right now, the majority of those disciplines revolve around cloud data engineering, mainly Snowflake. But I have a whole set of curriculum that I've introduced to the students. And starting from the second course, they can actually elect those disciplines and understand the whole picture outside of their regular course. And if you are dedicated, you can actually sign up for the first, second, third, fourth part, and you are going to understand the big picture of this. Also, in the master programs, which usually gives you a little bit more freedom, I've introduced a completely new discipline, which is data engineering, which is part of the main curriculum for master students. They usually pick this after they understand the whole idea behind computer science, and they have a single semester to understand something outside of the main scope. For example, this can be more or less mobile development, more or less data engineering, more or less artificial intelligence, and they can specialize a little bit further. So the program revolving around data engineering is something that me and my colleague, we've added to this iteration of the master program at the Faculty of Math and Informatics. Completely understanding the need of data engineering in the future. So at the moment, the university in general is not ready to provide a high level of education related to data engineering because it's too modern, too fast for the whole curriculum, and we don't have enough professionals that can go and influence students. Also, the general idea behind this is that it's a niche profession. It's completely outside of the scope of the typical, let's call it typical IT stuff. It's going to be one of the most important profession in the future, but you know that the university are usually 10 years behind. So after 10 years, they're going to understand that, yep, we are there yet.
Okay. Yeah. So essentially, what my understanding is, what you're saying is, data engineering, data working with data has been around for a while, but technologies change so fast that they can't keep up with the pacing. So that's why the universities prefer to stay behind that and leave it out of their curriculum. Is that
if you open a random curriculum, not only for the Plovdiv University, but every single university that is teaching computer science, you are going to see only foundation subjects. And usually those foundation subjects only grasp the surface of those ideas, the surface of programming language, the surface of operation system. Usually they completely circumvent the idea that there is technology, and usually if the technologies are implemented in the curriculum, they are going to serve only the example of the most basic tool for learning purposes. For example, if we need to teach the students how to implement, for example, a web application, you're usually going to implement it with a raw programming language. But if you need a programming framework, you're going to implement the most popular in the most basic way. And when we talk about data engineering, usually the most basic way is raw SQL. That's it. If we talk about Databricks, if we talk about Snowflake, SSIS packages, or some specific database in general, you need to go a little bit deeper, which is outside of the scope for the university. It's not foundation enough. It's specialized. It's academy, usually academy in quotes, academy material, professional material, course-like material. You need to go outside of the university in order to understand the specific technology. And this is the reason that usually the university try to run away from something concrete, some specific framework or some specific
Okay,
technology.
so we have the universities, they essentially refuse to teach young students into these new technologies. I guess the other part in that case is companies, the businesses.
Yes.
What companies do about that?
Okay, so I can talk about the company that I'm part right now because we have a very unique model. So me and my colleague, who is the CTO of the company, Nikola Volchanov, the company is Sopiatech. We are both educators at the university. And we have an extremely unique model. We are picking students and we are re-educating them at the company level. So I am teaching courses revolving around foundation of programming languages. For example, I'm teaching Java, I'm teaching object-oriented programming, I'm teaching logic. Then I'm teaching some specialized courses outside of the regular curriculum revolving around data engineering. He's also teaching the same stuff, but with .NET framework. He's picking young and bright students. I'm picking young and bright students. And we are putting them into an intern environment. So you wish to understand a little bit more details about this. You're going to come to the office. We are going to put you in some project environment, and you are going to understand the actual application of this particular stuff that you've learned during the last couple of years. So usually we are betting on second course students. They have basic understanding, and in the professional environment, they're understanding actually how to apply those knowledges. So why this works? This works because you are immediately seeing some actual application of abstract concepts. Because let's be real, at the university, you're not seeing the bigger picture. You're not seeing any picture at all. I cannot explain to anyone what is the actual profession of a software developer because it's even abstract for me. I'm spending much time understanding the problem, understanding the customer, writing some code, yelling at some colleagues, and it's so much more than just understanding the basic theory. You need to be an environment-oriented person. You need to have a lot more soft skills to understand the hard skill that you need to implement in your day-to-day practice. This is the reason that usually the university serves as just a single piece of the puzzle. It gives you the community, a very distracted and very confused community, but nonetheless, a lot of people who are under the impression that they are going to become the next something. And this is great start because we have some basic idea that we are going to build from this point on. And if you introduce a little bit more noise in the system, a little bit more concepts, a little bit more theory, a little bit more projects, you're going to uncover a whole set of different user groups, micro user groups, that are interested in different aspects of the life. Some are more interested in hardcore development. The other are more interested in communication. Third group is interested in building compilers. They are the odd ones, the outcasts, the geeks. And you're going to pick different groups for different professions because the main lie that the university is actually selling you is that they are teaching developers. No, we are not teaching developers. We are teaching IT people who are going to serve in this industry as different roles. They are going to solve problems related to communication, solve problem related to technologies, solve problem related to economy in general. So you need to create different type of boxes, not just a single one. The programming box, you need to create different boxes in which to put the different students based on their mindset, their meta aspects, and their interests in general.
Okay. So I heard a few things that really sparked interest in me. First of all, it sounded like you actually need to unteach students that you already taught something. You
Basically,
teach them some things, but then you need to unteach them. The other thing is, you find those bright students, offer them internships, but then, and that's great, right? Not a lot of companies do that from my understanding, but then, those people need to be passionate about that.
yes.
What happens if you haven't found your passion about this, or you're not so great, so to speak, what those people can do? Let's say somebody's fresh out of university, they haven't found their internship. What's your experience? How do you have a system to find those young people?
Well, we can find them at the university 100%. We have 100% rate with this. And usually they are much more than we need, of course, at our company, at least. Usually when I'm teaching, I try to create curriculum for everyone, not for a specific type of person. I need to see curiosity first. Curiosity for the problem or curiosity for process, situation, people, etc. If you are fresh out of university, I believe you are too late because our industry is extremely fast. It's modern, it's Gen Z oriented. So, for example, if you have an interest in writing books, you're not going to wait 4 years at the university to understand every single aspect of writings in order to put something on the paper. You need to put something on the paper every single day. It's the same with computer science. Usually, you have the opportunity to sell your skill. And by selling your skill, you're actually buying opportunities. How? We know that every single junior developer is just a cell in Excel table. Usually it's some kind of indirect spend. But you're selling yourself and you're providing the innate ability to be curious to a specific aspect of the business. You're saying, I have interest in, for example, banking or accounting or data transformation or compilers or games, something like this. I don't have skill, but I have ability to learn. I'm a canvas, tabula rasa. I can be used as a sponge for all different aspects of this economic endeavor. So we are not picking hard skill usually. We are picking potential. We are picking someone who can drive change, drive progress, but understand the current philosophy of the stuff. And usually, if you go to the university, you need to be already developed in this particular aspect. It's the same with the music. You're going to music academy by already know how to play instrument or how to sing. They're just going to mold you in a specific direction. In computer science, it's the same. You are actually transforming your math and logical skills, your passion, into some concrete scientific philosophy. So it's a concrete computer science philosophy. And if we pick you, you're going to be molded in a specific economic field. You're going to write, for example, in C++ or Java. You're going to transform data from one source to another. You're going to talk with customers trying to solve their problem. You're going to be project manager in this case. But you need to be passionate and curious about this. And this is very obvious by your behavior in the lectures or the exercises that we are conducting.
So here I partially agree with what you're saying.
Mhm.
I certainly agree with the fact that people who are passionate about their work, about what they do, usually go further, because they
Yeah.
are more curious. Curiosity definitely drives way further, right? What I probably don't agree is that if you start learning a field, let's say data engineering, after
Mhm.
university, you're too late. I personally have met a lot of people who came into software development, data engineering, all of these spaces way after they finished university. And are pretty good professionals, actually. But yeah, those people taught themselves a bit and went through some academies and so on.
Yes, usually you have two ways to approach your future profession, the superstar way and the regular way. The superstar way is the thing that I've just described. You're excelling in your education, you're showing that you can deliver more than expected. You're basically the star of your particular um, class. And this is going to affect the teachers that are going to observe you. They're going to say, yeah, of course, this bright person is fitting for my company, for example. He have a nice presentation, nice skill, he can learn fast, etc. This is the superstar way. And usually, the majority of the companies are interested in this type of people. And the regular way is the way after the university. You've done your dues for years, master, you've picked all of your knowledge, and from a certain point, you've decided that I'm going to find a job. Usually, this is the more slow and painful way because it requires to create some kind of impression to your future employee. And the majority, based on my experience, of course, the majority of people that goes to the regular way usually needs to show some kind of passion to their future employee because either way they are going to be compared to the superstar that are already in the company. And yes, of course, our industry is young. Our industry needs bright people, but our industry got a lot of shifts back in the days. It started with the passion. It started with the geeks, the nerds, the outcasts, those that do the coding silently during the night without any social life, without any sunlight. And right now, it becomes a little bit more commercially oriented. So, of course, every single industry that's more commercially oriented is going to adopt a certain way of thinking that requires a regular push of forces that are outside of the university. We are always trying to optimize for the most effort, for the least effort and the most potential. So we are always focusing on the superstar. We are always trying to find the students that have a lot of potential during their second or third year at the university. This is our way. Of course, we are a small company, around 20, 25, 30 developers, engineers in general. So this approach is best for our general aspect of working. But if we compare with some big tech company, of course, they are going to require some regular attempt from their HR staff, scanning CVs and going through uh, senior developers that are outside university, of course.
Okay, so it sounds like, if you're not on the top of your class in a sense, it would be very, very hard for somebody who just finishes university to find a job. Is that what you're saying?
You're compared definitely with people who are who've made an impression. And usually, when you are dealing with something that requires passion, for example, we are old school developers, me and you. Um, Something that requires passion usually shows through our work, projects, side projects, how we are talking about our work. And if you spend so many time trying to understand the bigger picture, but you didn't make any impression, this basically means that you're going to be compared with someone who is a 10xer. You're going to be compared with someone who excels during their youth. Of course, the comparison is always a part of the play of the game. This doesn't mean that you are less of achiever. This means that you just completing your journey a little bit slower than the other one. And this is going to, of course, be something that the interviewer is going to note. But I'd explain a process that we've adopted at our company. And until this very day, we've never actually put any job offer using the popular platform. We always handpicked students from the university, second and third course. At other companies that I've used to work, there was completely different process. We've picked applicants using a standard way, the regular way. And usually this regular way, it's a little bit more tedious because you are optimizing for completely different metrics. But right now we are talking about the junior developers, those who are at the university and trying to achieve something more. I don't want to discourage anyone. In the era of AI, usually the statements like you're not going to find any job is something that we are hearing every single day. But it's going to be hard for anyone who is not putting the work during their education. At least you're putting yourself on the stage, you're visible, you're present. And the majority of your educators, your professors, your colleagues, they are going to be part of the universe, of the industry. And this industry is going to be actually your future working place. So you need to show effort.
I love that you touched on that because that was going to be my next question.
Okay.
Now, everybody's afraid, if you wish, concerned that AI would take their job. It's getting harder and harder. I post job postings all the time for my team, and I can see hundreds of candidates, 200 CVs just in 24 hours, for example. So, obviously job market is tough. So I guess my question is for those fresh people, in who are still in uni or fresh out of uni, just try to find their first job. What is the minimum that they need to do to find, an internship or their first job in a sense?
It's definitely hard because the market is different right now. And generally speaking, if we make a flashback a few years before the COVID, during the COVID, and after COVID period, you're going to see that the requirement of the business usually drives an interest to this profession. And this was actually the reason behind a so the biggest effort of the HRs and the recruiters to hire a little bit of extra workforce. This is no pun intended. A little bit of extra happens to be thousands of people were hired every single day. This is a little bit of madness in the system. We've pumped a lot of delusional aspects of this industry because we just needed a head to sell. Something to be present, something to be visible in front of the client. Those people are usually junior developers that are entering in the university, and the only aspect of this entrance was related to they have some idea what is coding and how to code in a certain technology or a certain way. Usually they know a programming language or a framework that they can apply for a specific task. No more, no less. They are just a craftsman who can deliver a code in this certain niche. And this worked. This used to work because this does not require passion. This just required a very concentrated skill set. And this snapshot of the industry is absolutely valid because this used to drive a lot of money. Right now, we have different economic aspects. We have new set of tools. We have a new set of economic requirements. And this means that a lot of people that were hired back in the days to do a specific job, they are not going to be required anymore. But we don't need to exclude all of those people who have the passion and the knowledge to deliver a product from point A to point Z. They are the people who started as a craftsman but decided to expand their knowledge, to introduce extra language, extra framework, extra concept, extra philosophy. This means that if we have two persons that were hired as a junior with a minimal effort from their side, one of them decided to continue with just React, just basic JavaScript, just the basic tickets on a day-to-day basis, they are not going to grow. They are not going to develop their skill. They are going to be obsolete. The other person decided to learn TypeScript, for example, to learn Python, to learn different frameworks, to understand how to build a framework, to understand how to optimize, to understand the product. They are going to be valuable for the business, valuable for the company. And right now, the economic aspect is the following. We don't need hard skill anymore in this sense that we used to need those hard knowledge 5 years ago or 10 years ago. We don't require just a programming language or some application framework. We need soft skill, more or less. The ability to adapt, the ability to understand logic, the ability to find solution to operate on your own. So the basic engineering right now, it's not how to use tools or concrete tools, specific tools, but the ability to understand the philosophy around solving problems. Unfortunately, the university cannot solve this problem because university is going to teach foundation. This foundation is part of ChatGPT. It's part of Claude. It's part of every single LLM that you can prompt with a question. Explain to me how object-oriented programming works. But information is not knowledge. Information is not skill. You need to practice. You need to ask additional questions. You need to understand the product, the business, the customer, the problem. And those aspects are completely outside of the university as an educational institution. They are part of the business. And you need to work in the trenches rigorously, day and night, for quite some time in order to understand them. So, on your question, how a junior developer can find a job, it's going to be extremely harder than the last couple of iterations. Of course, because right now the industry is a little bit normal. But not everyone is going to pursue this field of work because of the money. Because it used to be, I'm money driven, I need to work in IT because IT equals big buck. Not anymore. You're going to the university, the majority of the people there are completely in the dark what to expect from the future. You're putting the work, you're understanding the concepts, and after quite some time, you're going to make the right impression to the right people. You're going to ask the right question, you're going to demonstrate curiosity, you're going to use the tools that right now the industry requires, you're going to read the books that are foundational, that are modern, that are required. And when you go to the interview, or if you can jump directly in the company to circumvent the interview, you're going to make the right impression because you're going to be the right guy. You've put the work. Not everyone is going to compete for the same position. Some people just pick the position because they need to be in the market. The other one pick the position because they are passionate about the technology, about the product, about the ideas of the company. And those people are going to make a successful employee in the next couple of iterations. So it requires a lot of extra effort right now, but this extra effort is completely equal to the effort that the students done in 10 years, for example, before 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I love that. I actually 100% agree with that. I always think about this because I also come from web development and stuff. Right now, data specifically feels like how it develops, how much more experience, more skills you need is essentially what JavaScript feels nowadays. You need
Yes.
to need package managers, build systems, and all of this. So it's a lot more. So that's why I also think it's much harder. Also, what I liked, I didn't know you'd go into that. You touched a lot on curiosity and soft skills and all of this. That's essentially why I started this publication, Data Gibberish, because I certainly agree with that. These are the skills of the future. Writing code is actually not a high leverage activity. So here I agree a lot with that. You know, I- my understanding is if I need to summarize what you say is learn the fundamentals, be curious, and surround yourself with like-minded people.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, usually, just a little bit tidbit. When some of my students ask me the same question, how to be competitive, I'm saying the same example every single time. There is a couple of conferences at Bulgaria which are popular for the masses. Java related conference, data conference. There are some generic, general purpose conference that are not specific on a certain topic. Go to the conference. Feel the passion of the people that are talking about specific topic. Ask questions. Understand the foreign words that you'd have no idea what they mean. Actually, back in the days, my first conference was in 2011, PlovdivConf. Back in the days, Stefan Kanev used to organize those conferences, and I was pretty green in this field. I've already worked for around 2 years at the software industry, but I had a lot of gaps in my knowledge, which is usual business for every single junior developer. there are a lot of words that I haven't got any idea what refers to. Aspects of operation system, aspect of text editors, aspects of different technologies that was not familiar. And I got the habit to attend those conferences and to write down every single word that I didn't have any idea what it means. And then with Google, with Wikipedia, and a little bit of back and forth, I've understand this particular concept, which linked me to another concept, another concept, another concept, and this builds your vocabulary. You are going to understand the world in general. And if you need to present yourself that you're eager to learn and to work in this field, you need to go to those conferences.
Yes.
You don't need to be a speaker, of course. When you're young, when you're green, you don't have enough experience to share with the others. But you're going to present yourself in the right audience, and you're going to actually communicate with the core aggregators of ideas in our community. And you know that those conferences are usually attended by the same persons every single time. They are going to be familiar with you. And at some point, if you need something challenging or to start your career, what is the better way rather than go to them and ask them for a project or for a job?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I've been running with a group of friends a local conference for the last 14, nearly 15 years.
Mhm.
And yeah, I agree with that. Most of attendees, we basically know each other after so many years. And we love seeing young people. But yeah, it's not something that we see every day, every year. Now, talking about communities, I touched on that in the beginning of this conversation. You started the Bulgarian Snowflake user group. Why?
The reason is absolutely the same that I'm driving throughout the whole podcast to build a community around not only the technology, but the philosophy around data engineering. So there are a lot of user groups revolving around programming languages. And usually those user groups have some shared ideas about they are going to chase the new features in this particular language. They are going to share different design patterns, aspects of how to be a better developer in this particular language or technologies around this language. I was driven towards the idea to create community around cloud computing technology, primarily snowflakes, but to try to influence the people to understand a little bit more about data engineering, data science, and technologies around databases. So Snowflake, in this case, was and still is a partner of our company, and I was under the impression that the best, the best next step for the business is to create a community, and we are partner integrators, and we have a new um, attendees that can participate in this technology, can be certified, and can in the future work for us and understand the whole philosophy directly from the source, directly from people who are not only passionate about the technology, but have direct communication with the mothership. This was the business driven idea. My personal philosophy is by creating a community, a user group, I can influence students, particularly students at the university level or outside of university who are interested in databases, who are interested in data in general, who are interested in math, statistics, etc., and can talk about their passion with other people who are actually going to understand them or can show them at the right direction. Because unfortunately, data science and data engineering as a field is particularly young. And you're going to find a lot of tutorials which are outdated. You're going to find a lot of tidbits which are not very usable because you need very extremely high scale infrastructure. You need to be to participate in projects that can offer you this particular infrastructure, and you need someone who can guide you in the most proper way to actually introduce this on the development or experimental or production environment. And my idea is general is go to the university, influence the people that data engineering is cool, and everyone who is interested in this particular field can go to the user group and can become a part of community that is focused on this particular technology or this particular field in general. And because I am organizing different kind of communities, this is exactly my field. I can guide interested students. I can, for example, familiarize themselves with particular patterns, way of thinking, philosophy, and I can connect them with the right people. This was my secondary idea and my main actually driving factor for this.
Okay, so it sounds like if somebody is looking for a job, no matter if they're fresh out of
Mhm.
university or switching careers or anything like that, or they're experienced people, if they are looking for a job, the best way is not to find a job is not to blast CVs over, let's say, LinkedIn or something like that, but actually to go outside, meet people in different communities, user groups, and conferences.
Oh yeah.
Is that your best advice?
Yes, definitely, because the conference and the user group is it's like a conference but on a small scale.
Yeah.
In Bulgaria, particularly abroad, it's a little bit different because the user groups have some larger budgets and they can pull conference on their own. But this is the best way to actually find people who are leading the projects, who have understanding about the project and the product, and you can talk with them directly. Because blasting CVs usually is just a cheap way to land some job. You're not wishing to land some job. If you are fresh, you wish to have a mentor. You wish to actually find the right person who is going to not just throw you the keys to the database and says, okay, just try to not drop every single object at the end of the day. Just try to do your job, collect your paycheck, and go do whatever you wish. You need to find someone who can understand the craft, who can show you the ropes, and who can actually give you the general philosophy. And the best way to find this right guy for you is to go to user groups and conferences. This, of course, applies to junior developers, to people who are not completely delusional in terms of what is going to be my next acting role in this particular community. If you need to understand the craft, go find the craftsman itself. If you just need to collect a paycheck, blast your CVs, talk with HRs, try your luck. At the end of the day, at some point, you're going to land a job. It's not the best way right now. The best way is to be presented in front of the right people. And every single time, if you go this right person who is, let's say, a leader of the project or a very prominent figure from a data company or a software developer company in general, you're going to ask him, what kind of project are you dealing? Are you having a problem with scaling? Do you have problems with delivery? Do you have specific type of problems? Not do you have projects? Do you have projects? I need a job or something like this, and something blunt. This is not going to lend you anything. This is just not the right words for someone who is passionate about their craft. So make yourself presentable. Or even, let's say, if you're passionate about something, but you completely understand that you don't have the vast skill in the universe because you're junior and you're just starting to understand the bigger picture, create the necessary GitHub project or create a blog post about some technology that you're using. Create a tutorial, a video, short, TikTok even. Start collecting your thoughts in LinkedIn threads, chain threads, etc. This is going to make you a little bit more visible to the industry. And of course, you're not going to create the follow up of the century. You're just going to be a little bit more in check with the reality of the today's market.
Okay, yeah, okay. I need to say that I've certainly know the company I work for right now. I've been working for this company for a long time. They found me / I found them through conferences, and also we've had quite a few people from conferences and user groups. So I can
It
resonate
works.
a lot with that. Yeah. Okay, Misha. We've been talking quite a while now. I guess some closing words. Do you have any advice for everybody who listen to us?
I believe the whole podcast was an advice.
Okay.
So
Where can people find you?
if you require any extra advice, the best way is to find me over LinkedIn. You're going to put a
Yes.
link to my LinkedIn in the comments. Also, we're going to share the links to the Snowflake user group for everyone who is interested to participate. Also, I am starting a Snowflake foundation course next month, which is going to cover every single aspect of the most prominent features of Snowflake and data engineering in general. There is going to be also a link in this. The course is completely free. I am a big supporter of free education and the idea to deliver a little bit more than expected in terms of education. So everyone who is interested, you can follow me for some extra advices or philosophical discussion around this topic. Of course, those courses are going to be in Bulgarian. So I believe your audience is not going to be the perfect match for this, but I am planning to put the same materials in English in the future. So at least a connection with me is going to be valuable for everyone who is interested in education for the future.
So, folks, if you have any questions, blast them. That's it.
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
absolutely.
Awesome, Misha. It was very, very good to chat with you. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us for over an hour. I hope it was a valuable discussion for all of you. See you next time. Bye. Bye, Misha.
Bye bye.